Baxter County Roundtable. We had some technical difficulties last week and missed a week, so hopefully we've got that remedied. Today, our special guest is Scott Booth. He's Vice President of the Mountain Home School Board. Is that
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And I don't know who this character, I think his name is Russ Gillis. He's here. Looks like a guy that's been here before, but
Yeah, occasionally.
But anyway, last week we had some technical difficulties, and I think we've got that resolved for now. But
And we apologize to our sponsors for that.
yes, and speaking of that, we're going to give specific thanks to our sponsors. Baxter County Roundtable podcast is sponsored by Mountain Home Heat and Air. They were voted the best in the Twin Lakes 2 years in a row, 2024 and 2025. They're the largest Goodman dealer in the Twin Lakes area. Mountain Home Heat and Air together with Goodman are two names you can trust. Goodman systems are made in America by Americans. They also specialize in Dakin mini split systems. From new installations to duct cleaning and everything in between, Mountain Home Heat and Air are the people to call for all your HVAC needs. And they offer high quality systems and workmanship, affordable prices, and financing is available. So give Kirk Lawrence and the folks at Mountain Home Heat and Air a call at 870-425-HVAC. That's 870-425-4822. Russ?
And we're also sponsored by James Boyette State Farm Insurance, located down 1330 Highway 62 East in Mountain Home. James has been in the Mountain Home area for, I guess, going on 12 years now. And I'll tell you, they cover not just Arkansas, but they cover Missouri too, including Norfolk, Salesville, Gamelia, all the surrounding little settlements and towns around up into Missouri, Hardinville, Dall, Missouri, Caulfield, Bakersfield, you name it. Full disclosure, James is my State Farm insurance agent, and I'll tell you, he has treated me absolutely great. I had someone hit my truck here a couple years ago down in Little Rock, hit me and just took off down a side street. Couldn't even get a license plate or nothing. But actually, it's right off the exit on the highway there, and they took care of it. Didn't cost me anything but the deductible. So, but for auto, homeowners, condo, renters, personal articles, business, life, health, even pet insurance, So if you got a pet, have you got your dog insured?
I don't have them insured, but I promise I'll look into it.
But anyway, and they also, and I'll tell you this, when I had my house built here a few years ago, 7 years ago, I went through Rocket Mortgage, Quicken Loans. He also took care of that. So he is a Rocket Mortgage / Quicken Loans, whatever they're going by now. He's an agent for that too, so he can take care of all of it from end to end.
Awesome.
And we're also sponsored by the Baxter County Republican Committee. And great thanks to them because they provided seed money to get us started right off the get-go. Bought all our equipment and everything. And they have a continuing, ongoing sponsorship, paying for the whatever Restream or whatever the monthly costs are for
subscription.
For us to be able to do this. So certainly do appreciate that. And we do apologize to all the sponsors for having the technical difficulties last week, but sometimes things are just out of our control.
And we also appreciate all the viewers and our special guest, who Scott Booth happens to be ours tonight. So, Scott, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then
Sure.
we'll get into school board stuff.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, first off, thank you for having me here today. I mean, I appreciate the invite. I like coming on and being able to get a message out and talk to your viewers. And so this is a really special time for me. So thank you for that. My history, my wife and I moved here in 2014, so we've been here about 12 years. Since then, my wife's a practicing physician here in town. We started having children after, I guess my daughter was born in 2016, so she's now 9. I have a 9-year-old fourth grader, an 8-year-old second grader, and a 6-year-old first grader this year. So super vested in the district. I want to see the district do really well. And so 3 years ago, a seat opened up. Mr. Pendergrass had stepped off of the board, and it was an open seat. And I said, you know what? Let me throw my hat into the ring, right? Former Marine Corps officer, one of the things they always taught us was, don't criticize somebody for something you're not willing to do yourself, right? So I said, well, let me throw my hat in the ring and do something, that, you can't, if you're not willing to do it yourself, then you can't even really, fault somebody for not doing a good enough job.
Yeah,
perhaps.
and we need good people to step up and volunteer.
They figured he'd been in the Marine Corps and already been shot at, so coming out here and being on the school board and getting,
That's right.
getting all those slings and arrows at him.
This might be more dangerous, but
Well, in some ways it probably is, but now you have to get elected to this seat by the public.
yes,
Now,
sir, that's correct.
Is this a partisan?
Nope. The
election?
school
Just-
boards are nonpartisan, right? So
Okay.
they specifically don't want politics involved. It is supposed to be a non-political position. So there are 7 members of the board. We are all at large, so the entire district votes for each member of the board as they come up for re-election.
Okay.
Last year, the state changed how we've done this, right? It used to be for the seven board members, every year 2 board members would come up for re-election, or if that seat opened up, that seat was available. So every 2 years, and on the 4th year, there'd be 3 seats would be available. So that would be all 7 seats would come up for election every 4 years. But then the state changed it last year and said only every 2 years now will board members become available. So now, one school board member election, that'll be 3 seats up, and then 2 years later there'll be 4 seats up. So there's going to be potentially a lot of turnover, or not any turnover, or whichever. But instead of two every year, there's now going to be 3, and then 2 years later there'll be 4 up for a re-election.
In the
again.
end,
So
everybody comes up for election fairly often.
every 4 years.
Okay.
Correct.
So we got that covered. What about you're the vice president? Do you have
Yes, sir.
special responsibilities that other school board members don't have?
Not as the vice president. I'm there to serve as the president in his absence. So if Mr. Jason Smesky, who's our current board president, he can't be at a meeting, right, I will run the meeting in his absence.
Okay.
But otherwise, no. The secretary, who is Miss Molly Morgan, she has some responsibilities of signing some documents and resolutions. But for the vice president, no, sir, there's not.
And she also takes the minutes and keeps the minutes and stuff, right?
Yes, sir, officially.
So okay, what kind of give us specific examples of what the school board's responsibilities are? What do we need one for?
Okay, well, so the book answer is there's really 3 things, right? We hire and fire the superintendent, we approve a budget, and we set policy. Okay, so we hire. I always make the analogy of like the board and a CEO. Miss Allison Dewey is the district superintendent. She's the CEO. She runs the day-to-day district, right?
Okay.
The board doesn't micromanage and say, well, you should have done this, or this needs to be how you handle this. No, the board hires Miss Allison Dewey to run the school district. Okay, so that's our first job. We evaluate the superintendent. We hire or fire her. We set her contract, etc. So, and then we approve the budget. So she will put together a proposed budget and bring it to the board. The board then approves or disapproves the budget, or makes tweaks to it, or recommends tweaks to it. And then we set policy. Right. So the district has a whole policy manual. So we review these policies.
Is that policy related to teachers or to students or
It's
to
everything. Everything.
Okay.
There are some
All
sections of it that refer to what we call our classified, which are our food service workers, our bus drivers, our janitors, right? And then there's the certified, which are the teachers, right? So there's sections that refer to certified, there's sections that refer to classified, there's board governance, there's student sections. So that policy covers all of how the district's going to handle our day-to-day business.
Including the library. Which books go in the library, which books are not, types of books and stuff,
Yeah,
correct?
the curriculum.
I know that was 2 or 3 years ago, or a few years ago. That was the library and the types of books that were in there. relating to gender studies and all this other stuff, I think was pretty hot topic. Around,
Sure, it was.
So, and the policy also covers that as well, correct?
I don't know if it gets into the level of detail on what books are going to be. In fact, I know it doesn't get in the level what books are going to be in the library. It sets the library's policies on, how the librarians are going to conduct their business. But
How about the curriculum? Do you have any input on the curriculum?
yep,
for
or
does that come from on high, so to speak?
no, the district will bring to the board, hey, this is our curriculum changes that we're going to do. And usually they request it because they need approval to buy it, right? So any purchase over $20,000, the district has to approve. Or excuse me, the board has to approve those purchases, right? So when they're looking to bring in a new curriculum or update a curriculum or buy new textbooks, it very quickly goes over $20,000. So it'll come to the board for us for that. So that's where the board gets to decide, hey, is this the right curriculum for us? Is this the curriculum we want to buy? And we'll have a discussion there, an open meeting. We're certainly not curriculum experts, right? I'm not a teacher. I administer a business, right? So I see it from the business side. So that the teachers, Miss Judy Lawrence is the assistant superintendent, so she'll talk to us about the curriculum. Miss Dewey will talk to us. Hey, this is why we want to do. We approved a new science curriculum or new chemistry, high school chemistry curriculum. And, one of the questions I asked is, well, what has changed, right? High school chemistry hasn't really changed much. So we last bought this curriculum in 2012. What's changed? Well, there have been some updates. There's been some new elements. Those books have been worn out. So, hey, it's time to get a new curriculum and for, high school chemistry. So,
I guess what I'm kind of interested in is, and I think a lot of people are talking about this now. When I say curriculum, like, are you guys kind of pushing kids to go to college, or are you trying to push some into the trades? And is there anything going on there? The trades is my interest. Is there anything being done? Because I remember when I went to school, there was shop. And wood shop, electric, all this shop, and I don't think they're doing that anymore, are they?
Oh yeah, we certainly are. We have the whole FFA barn back there. We have the welding shop and woodworking.
Oh, at school?
At school, at the high school, we do all of that.
Well, that's
I think the district and
you made my day. I can go home now.
We're done. All right.
Thank you.
Miss Dewey, I think, even talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like the district's goal is for every student. In fact, I think the state's goal is to either be enrolled, employed, or enlisted. Right, so coming out of school with some trade, or they're ready to go into a trade, they're enlisted in the military, or they're enrolled in a college course somewhere.
Yeah, she
right?
did
So
mention that.
That's the district's goal. We don't want anyone to graduate and then they're just off.
Okay,
right?
I got a question that was posed to me when I was telling some friends about these interviews we're doing. Cursive. Are we teaching cursive now?
My daughter is working on it now, and it's not great. But yes, they do teach cursive.
Because
they
got away from that for a while.
Well, I don't know.
I
don't know if we did or didn't. I have seen them working on cursive. I've seen my elementary students.
I mean, that's two things I can go home.
So
I'm pretty happy now.
They are absolutely working on cursive.
Okay,
yeah,
that's great. That's great.
Yeah, but I will say this. I stopped by last week. Stopped by Butler Furniture and talked to Brad Butler. And I stopped by and talked to him occasionally. He is an ex-school teacher. He used to teach over at Rogers in schools. So you do have some expertise from the teaching standpoint on the school board itself. So it's not like everyone is lacking specific instructional duties.
Miss Marsha Partney's retired. She has decades of experience, right? Miss Horton's a former teacher. Miss Molly Morgan's a teacher. So Mr. Butler, we have a pretty well-rounded board. That they certainly see the other side, the teacher side. There are business owners there. Mr. Smesky owns a business. I have owned my own small businesses. I currently administer a medical clinic now. So yeah, we're a fairly well-rounded board, I think, from both the business side and the education side, I should say.
Yeah, there's
And they, I go to, I don't get, and I'll be honest, I don't even live in the Mountain Home School District. I live in Biola School District. Although there's, I guess, some people out there that do attend Mountain Home.
Okay.
But they drive in or
it's a commute
driven
for
in
sure.
or something. But I do attend as many school board meetings as I can, especially when it comes to the millage and what we're going to have to do.
Sure.
Because we are going to have to do something to the school as far in the not too distant future.
Sure.
Because of the condition of the big top and the buildings inside there. So, because that does impact so many of all of the residents in
Absolutely.
Mountain Home and Baxter County within the Mountain Home School District. That's going to affect our property taxes and stuff. So, being part of the Republican committee, we hear all kinds of arguments and complaints and stuff about that. You guys should stand up against this. You guys should stand up for it or whatever. But you got to be at least knowledgeable in the primary issues going around the county. So I try to attend as often as I can, and I've given you some feedback on what I think you could do to improve the website.
Yes, sir.
Primarily because that is the portal into the school and the school district as a whole. So, from a parent standpoint, the easier they find it to navigate that website, I think would make it considerably better for the students, parents, and everyone associated with it to get involved.
Yes, sir.
I know that I don't see very many parents when I go to a school board meeting. Specifically, what I've noticed, my observation has been, if a student's not getting recognized at the school board meeting,
That's it.
or if the teacher of the students is not getting recognized at the school board meeting, there's almost no parents there.
Right. And then when they do get recognized, then they leave.
And then they
leave.
don't even
And
stay
right.
for the
They
rest
don't
of
even
the
say
meeting.
it. Right. We do the recognitions at the beginning, right, for our National Merit Scholarships or our AP this, or hey, this team won state, and we recognize them. The parents are there, and then they get up and leave when we start doing the rest of the board business. So, yeah.
And to me, that's kind of a travesty. And I go back to my childhood. My parents never attended a school board meeting. I don't even know if the school board had open meetings. This was back in the 50s and 60s. So, but and we lived, 11 miles out in the country. We were poor and we didn't go anywhere we didn't absolutely have to, because gas cost us 30 cents a gallon, and we didn't have it. But anyway, and I know a lot of the parents are working can to can't,
Sure.
but sure would be nice to see a lot more parents at that school board meeting, and not just wait till their property taxes are potentially going up or something like that, and they want to come and scream and yell.
Sure, and that affects the people who aren't even the parents, right, who wouldn't necessarily come to the board meetings. But we make day-to-day decisions all the time, day-to-day, month-to-month decisions on school policy where we're almost begging for parent feedback, for stakeholder feedback, right? There's, this past year we talked about, block scheduling versus traditional scheduling, and that's a big decision, right? The district's been doing block scheduling for the past 25 years. The block scheduling, hey, there was a pretty lively discussion on switching to traditional schedule. I wanted parental feedback. I think I talked to 2 parents before they came. It's like, we want to hear this feedback. Like, call us. I think every one of the board members has put out that we're available, right? I have our phone numbers, have our emails on the website. Call us, talk to me. I have a Facebook page. Reach out to me. I'll go sit down and have a cup of coffee with anybody because I want that feedback. I don't like making decisions. It's not so much in a vacuum, right? Because I definitely get the school or the teacher's perspective, but I want to hear the parent perspective too.
Yeah, you might learn a little something new.
Right, and
on
so
occasion.
I don't want to say anything negative about the press coverage too, but when you have an article on one of our, and you read it online the day after a school board meeting, or maybe, hey, this is what's coming up, it may not hold the whole story, where you see the district's perspective on, hey, why we're doing this, or what's the law that says you have to do this way. They'll read the news article, and next thing you know, there's 400 comments on that article, and I'm like, please come to our meetings or watch them so, 1, you can understand, but then 2, so you can give us your feedback ahead of time. We really want to hear that.
Last week, that brings up a great point. I stopped in and saw Brad Butler last week. I asked him specifically. I said, I just read the article on KTLO that wow, they're gonna have an $800,000, I believe it was, shortfall this year in the school. How in the world, you know? So I asked Brad. He said, well, that's kind of a misnomer. The money is coming. We know the money's coming. Federal law and state law mandates that they got to give us that money. However, the accounting system prohibits us from being able to show that money anywhere on our books. And it's like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, but that's government for you, you know? And it's like, okay, seems to me like you could have another worksheet, being pretty proficient in Excel, you could have another worksheet that says mandated money that's got to be paid that can't be shown on the books.
Sure.
And show that $800,000, and then you say, we can't say that we're going to get this money, but if you look at this other page, you'll see where the money's going to come from.
Well, I don't want to count our eggs before they're laid either, right? So some of this federal money, Title I money, like, it's supposed to come, but until we get it, right, I don't want to budget for it. So the budget is the absolute worst case scenario. We are planning to spend every dollar that we have available to us, and we're counting on the least amount of income that we can count. We're going to get more income from that, and we're probably not going to spend every dollar. So one of the news articles that we read, at the bottom of the article, and it was actually an article on the bus purchases, he had in the bottom of that where, hey, last year it was a $1.2 million deficit, and then we actually ended up with another $1 million in the bank over where we started. And that was even in a different article.
Are you talking about the bus issue?
No, we're just talking about the budget.
Well, I want you to explain that bus issue.
So we'll show,
in a minute.
you know, not this past month meeting, but the one before, we showed, hey, we're going to have a $1.2 million deficit. Okay, when we went to approve the budget in the August meeting here, so on August 7th, we'd come up $400,000 and only showed an $800,000 deficit. But we're going to wind up with not having any deficit at all. So Ms. Dewey watches that budget. She plays with the expenditures. Hey, we have retirements. Hey, let's not fill this position. I can move this person over here, and we can optimize our budget, optimize our spend, and we wound up not being in a deficit. But the budget is the worst case scenario. We're going to spend every dollar. This is every dollar we can spend, and this is the least amount of income. Where's it going to leave us?
But
and that's our budget.
That's what you show. That's
correct.
Not what your actual is going to be.
That's not correct.
Okay.
But you can see that and then be up in arms, and then there's 400 comments about this board doesn't know the head from their tail or up from down, and what are they doing? And it's like, no, come to our meetings. We talk about this. Right, we understand this, and this is what this is. It's actually a very conservative budget so that we know if the worst happens and we don't get any of these federal dollars or we don't get dollars from this source, where's it going to leave us?
Is that basically the same thing with the school bus issue? Because I'm not familiar with the school bus issue that much.
Sure.
But a friend of mine was saying, hey, ask him about this.
Yeah, let me talk about school buses. So we have 52 buses. I think I heard Ms. Dewey say a couple weeks ago that we ran 44 routes, right? And then we have some activity buses, whatever. 52 buses. If we replace 2 buses a year, that's a 26-year cycle from when you buy that new bus till when it comes back due to be replaced. If you do 2 a year, that's 26 years. So our oldest bus, if we replace 2 a year, would have been bought in 2000. Okay, that's an old school bus, especially driving on our gravel roads. As many miles that we do going up into Oakland and way down south, and we put a lot of miles on these buses. So I've said since I got on the board, we need to be buying at least 2 per year, probably 3 and even 4 if you could, but we haven't had the money. Right, money's been tight, so we've been buying. In the last couple of years, we've bought less than 2 per year, and I've been harping on it as a board member, saying every year that we don't buy another bus, it's going to come due on a future board is going to have that bill to pay, right? We're essentially we're spending the money on something else that we should be using on a bus, and in some future district, some future superintendent, school board is going to have to make up and buy extra buses. So really, if we're not buying 2 to 3 buses a year, we're stealing from a future district, future board. Okay.
And eventually, that's going to put you in extremis because you're going to have
bingo.
a bunch of them that are breaking down,
and now we've got a whole fleet to replace at once, right? So I've been harping that, I think it was last year we bought just one bus, or maybe it was my second year on the board. We bought one bus, and it's like we are going to get ourselves in trouble. So we finally get caught up this year. We did really well on the budget last year. Ms. Dewey did an excellent job of managing that budget. We had the extra money to buy those school buses this year, so we've authorized the board, or the district, to buy 5 buses. That will get us caught back up to where we need to be. So that's good. Those buses, I've heard talk about it. Well, why do you bus people to school, make people drive them? If we got rid of our school buses, like, it would be really, really bad for the district. Like, a lot of folks depend on those buses to get those children to school. So that's not even something the board's talking about. So if we're going to do it, you got to do it right? So we've got to keep buying school buses, right?
Okay, so since we're on that subject.
And one last point on that before I go to that. We don't buy new school buses, right? We buy used school buses. Okay, so we've gone and we've found and we've authorized used school buses that have less than 30,000 miles on them, because some districts that are bigger, more financially better, they may order them and they didn't come in with just the right specifications, so they'll reject them.
Okay.
And now they've got to either sell them used or they sell them basically on the second-hand market, and we get a discount for them. So we don't go out and buy new buses.
That's probably a reasonable way to do it.
We're being
fiscally responsible.
as fiscally responsible as we can,
Okay.
right? But we got to buy buses, and so we do it the best way that we can.
Okay.
Right, so,
You could probably buy Rogers used ones because they probably buy new ones every year.
probably so.
Since we're on that subject, sort of, this is the Mountain Home School District,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
But and I don't know how is it determined?
Oh gosh.
Like how far out does you just said Oakland?
Sure.
School districts, I can answer this.
Okay.
How far south?
School districts are set by the state.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
School districts are set by the state, and the reason I know that is because I went and asked the assessor.
Aha.
Because out where we're at, we're in Viola School District, okay, even though we live in Baxter County. So I asked her about it, and she said, School district has nothing to do with that. That is done by the state.
Okay.
There's
Well,
a special organization down there that goes and they survey and they do all this based on a number of different factors, how far away from the school and all this other stuff. So
'cause I wasn't even thinking about our area. I was thinking about like way down south in what is it, Big Flat? Or
56 or somewhere
56,
down there.
yeah. What are they? They're not part of it, are they?
I couldn't tell you exactly where the line is. We go pretty far south.
Really?
they
Yes, sir.
probably go into Norfolk though.
Most of those probably go to Norfolk
Yeah.
or Calico Rock.
'Cause, man,
Yep.
that's a haul.
Right. So some of you can go west, and like Gassville's and Cotter. So we don't have to go very far west, but we go all the way up to the Missouri line, and there's even parts on the north part of the lake up on the Missouri line that are in our school district.
Wow.
Right, so,
Right, which is actually in Missouri, from what I understand.
well, no, the bus has to go through Missouri to then come
get
back
to it.
down
Yeah,
into
okay,
Arkansas. It's not in Missouri, but you got to go through Missouri to get
Yeah,
to it.
yeah.
There's actually some students where, we have an agreement with Gainesville School District because it's Missouri, different state. Those students live in our district, but instead of them having a 40-minute commute down to Mountain Home, vice their 10-minute commute to Gainesville, it is better for the district, Mountain Home School District, and it's better for the students for them to actually go to Gainesville, right? And so we actually, the way the funds work, I couldn't explain the details, but we actually wind up paying Gainesville to take those students because it's cheaper for the district and it's better for the student to go to Gainesville.
Welcome
Right,
to
so-
the Ozarks, eh?
Right, right.
Because it's kind of like us. You got to go through Fulton County to get back to us in Baxter County.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, yeah, it was crazy how that question, because I specifically asked that last year because one of the people that goes to church with me out there asked that. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. So I went and asked the assessor, and she said, this is why.
Yep, yeah. It's nothing. We have any input on those boundary lines at all. So we can take students from other districts, right? School choice. They could be somebody who lives in Cotter and wants to come to the Mountain Home School District because they want to be part of our FFA or FBLA or part of our awesome band or whatever it is. So they can, but our buses don't run over there,
Okay.
right? So we won't go to a different
they
district. We
have
won't
to
go
figure
to
out
Cotter.
how to get here. if
Correct. Correct.
They want to participate.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, Russ, what else you got? Did we cover the volunteerism?
Well,
Well, we just touched on it. I have, you were talking. I had some comments on what you had to say earlier. You talked about the millage, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a little over 3 years since the last time the district had an ask for the, hey, to repair or replace the big top space, right? It's not the whole high school. There's a lot of the high school that's not being talked about being demolished, but it's specifically the big top area.
And what is under the big top?
Oh, there's 4 old buildings that were built in the 60s, and then the board, I think in 1989, decided, hey, they're in bad shape, they're leaking. We can make more usable space if we build this big pre-engineered metal building over the top of it. And well, that was a decision. They kicked that can down the road, and we still now have these old buildings and fire hazards that people can't get into if there's an issue. And I don't even need to rehash all the reasons why that needs to be replaced, but we found out last year to get on timeline for another ask to the public in November of next year, we had to back up to January of 25 to get on timeline of, we had to submit to the state a blueprint by October of last year that the state could approve it, look at it, give us some heads up that, hey, I would tweak this, because the official approval of those plans for foundation funding, for partnership funding, came in January of this year. So to put forward those plans, for them to say, yes, we will we'll partner with you and cover some of the funding costs, we had to back up and have a plan by October. So that we started planning last January, and at that point, I started telling the public, look, we want a plan that the public will support and public will get behind. I don't want to put a plan forward to the voters to say yes or no if I don't already know this is something that we can support, right? You may remember when I ran for school board, I ran during the second millage ask, right? That was my election, was right at that time. And I got asked the question all the time, do you support this millage or not? And I would say, I know it's going to take a millage. We have to replace the high school. I know it's going to take a millage. I'm not in a position to say that one's right or wrong because I wasn't part of the planning process. I don't know all the decisions that drove them into that plan. And people really wanted me to take a side on it. It's like, I don't know. I know we need to replace that part of the high school, and I know it's going to take a millage. So going forward, hey, I want to develop a plan.
So now, did the state come in and say we have to replace that?
The state has, and the state actually has approved us to take down more of the high school, the old fine arts building, where when you walk into the front of the high school where the principal's offices are, the main office, and some of the fine arts classrooms, they have approved that for demolition and replacement as well. Okay. So the partnership funding, I think for the last ask, we got approved, but we didn't get funded, and we didn't find out that we didn't get funded until after the vote. But I think that funding, and don't quote me on the number, I think it was a little bit less than $1 million that they would have partnered up with. I'm hearing this year it's in the neighborhood of $7 million plus that they're offering to partner up with. Because of some of their economic numbers have bumped us up. The state has improved what they will pay, what they'll approve per square foot. It used to be they would their new construction cost was $200 a square foot. When in reality the real construction cost was about $350 a square foot. But so the state funding model, partnership funding model, was wrong. Well, they've bumped those numbers up. They've changed our economic numbers for our area, and so now we're actually going to get a much larger chunk of state partnership funding. That said, it's still tax dollar monies, right? We're still paying for that state, but it's statewide that's going to be coming here to us. So I want community involvement as we went through these plans, and we went through all the iterations, and I think Mr. Russ was there at a lot of these, so he saw the myriad of, I think there was 9 different proposals that went forth over the course of many months where we said, well, we like this, we don't like this, can you change this? And he'd come back the next month and he had new changes, and we went through all of this and all the decisions that were made, but I wanted feedback this whole time. Okay, so now we have our plan. It's been approved for foundation funding. I want community feedback on how to fund this thing, right? Because we're going to have a choice on how to fund it. I would like that feedback on what people would say, yes, I can support this, or no, before we ever get to a vote, right? And for me, the vote, same as the last time, this time, is simply asking the constituents, the stakeholders of the district, is this a plan that you support? Is this what you want to invest in? Is this the right plan? Or do you want us to go back and come up with another plan? Okay?
I think I missed the first one. And I was at all the rest of those planning meetings with Modus, is that the company?
I believe that's the architect.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what I've come up with is simply this. The school boards from years past have basically kicked the can down the road. The buildings, the way they built that campus over the years has pretty much locked this school board into a no-win situation. They've got to tear down the big top and those 4 buildings underneath it. However, there's 20-something classrooms underneath that. Is that right?
I couldn't give you the exact number.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of them. Yes, sir.
Classrooms in those 4 buildings under the big top. You can't tear that down with those 20-something classrooms until you've got 20-something classrooms out here to accommodate.
You still have to do school.
So you got to
Right.
build something.
Is that part of the planning that
Yes.
It
we've
is.
got it?
So we could spend millions of dollars. We could spend $4 million on trailers and put our students in trailers while we tear that space down and rebuild in that same spot. I don't think that's an economical use of our taxpayer dollars. Just go buy some trailers to hold class in while we do an 18-month tear down and new build, right? Because we have to have some place to hold class while we're getting rid of those spaces. So that's what Mr. Russ is talking about. Well, where do we build, right? And we went through all the iterations of, hey, where the circle is and the plane is, what if we move the plane over here and maybe people are coming in from the north side? We have looked through every iteration on how we can come up with this. So we've come up with, our plan is a very modest plan. It's smaller than before, which kind of takes into account declining enrollment, right? So we realize enrollment has declined some. So we're building a smaller, more concise campus, but we also have a spot in mind where future add-on, hey, we know we're going to need to add on to this high school. Look at the history of Mount Homo High School. Over the years, we've continually grown, continually add on. So at some point in the future, and I don't know when that is, I know we're going to need to add on to this high school again as the population grows, right? The state ever makes 412 a 4-lane highway through the area, guess what? Our population's going to explode. We need a spot for it to grow. And so we've put together, this is what we need, and here's where we're going to expand later on when it comes to that point, right? We're not going to try to build the whole thing right now. Let's get what we need, not our wants, right? And there's a lot of wants that got left off the table. This is what we need. Future, we can build more on in this area, and we kind of have a plan now going forward. So
One of the other aspects there is in talking to and watching the iterations of this planning and in talking to Ms. Dewey, they want to shrink the size of the campus so that makes it more secure. Because the more they spread that campus out, the harder it is to secure it for the students, you know. So, and I think that is a fantastic idea because just the way society is going nowadays, you know, you just never know. But, you know, they've gotten all the locks, I believe, now.
and that's the
where
district's number
doors
one
are all-
priority.
The door's completely closed
Right.
and they're not coming, you know, you can't open from the outside. So security, you know, the last thing we want is children to go to school and don't come
Sure.
home.
That's
you know.
right.
Right. So academic achievement is a given, right?
Yeah,
That's our number one
yeah.
goal. It is a given. Behind that, student safety is top priority, right? You just have to look back last year and see, you know, a shooting in Nashville, right, where they're going around and shooting elementary students.
Well, every
it's
time you
just,
turn the TV on,
and it's just like heartbreaking. And imagine that happening here, right? So having a concise campus, right? Well, that drove some of the decisions. Well, why don't we build on the west side and those football practice fields? Well, it spreads the campus out so much, right? It's really hard. So having a concise campus, a 2-story campus, it's not 3-story, but having a concise 2-story campus, it's a much better from a security standpoint, right? And so,
And one of the, you know, this sounds crazy, but, you know, this shows all the different iterations to what they were doing. One of the iterations came back that they could tear down the library. The library's not even paid for yet. You know, it's the newest building on campus,
it's,
right?
it's a
And it's
great
like,
space.
You know, we could tear down that, and that would give us more flexibility to do this. And it's like, and I'll tell you, the school board said, whoa.
Right.
Time out. You're going to have us tear down a building that's not even paid for yet? You know, it's like, well, I don't think the public's going to go for that at all. You know, and I can tell you right now, there weren't very many of us in there, but we were all on board saying, you're right.
Right. And that was one of the complaints we heard about last millage was that, hey, that plan that they put forward did have the library going away. And it's like, that's one of the newest buildings there. It's a great space. It makes it a lot more complicated to leave that building there. The easier thing was to take out the library, and now we've got a whole big space to build that new space. If you leave the library there, it makes it more complicated, but it's still doable. And we had to push to, we had Mr. Gregory there, who will be the presumed project manager, giving his input on can this be done, how much setback, like he needs some room. He can't build that building right on it. He needs to be able to get his equipment in there. So all of this was talked about and discussed and trying to find the most economical plan for the taxpayer that's going to serve our students, it's going to serve our district for many, many, many years, right?
We're giving a little thought into what down the road.
There's been a lot of thought. That building should last us, I think the state plans on a building lasting 40 years.
I mean, as far as growth.
If you do it correctly, that building should last us 50 plus years, right? And then having a plan to where can we add on, where it ties in the future when we get to that point, right?
I went to the same high school in late 1960s. That my mom and dad
Did they have schools back then?
That my mom and dad attended school in the 1920s.
Sure.
And it wasn't a new building then.
Sure.
So, but, and talking, I'm glad you brought up Mr. Gregory, because I talked to Will at one of those meetings. And he said, Russ, one of the things that we have to do right off the get-go is we have to upgrade the drainage system. Because the drainage system for the current campus is totally inadequate to carry away all that water that runs off of those buildings' roofs. People don't realize how much water comes off of a roof. And it comes off in big, streams.
Jeez.
It's not like the water, you get a 2-inch rain, it's just coming straight down. That falls on that, and then it all comes down, and it's got to be carried away somewhere.
You get 100,000 square feet space, all that water gets collected down into there's a lot of water that flows off
because
these
you've got
things.
all the footprint of the buildings themselves that are channeling that into between them.
Yeah.
And he said, well, first of all, if you got standing water around there, that's where the water starts leaching and wicking up the side of the building, side of the wall. And that's how you end up with black mold inside the building, on the inside walls or interior to the walls. But he said we're going to have to rip all the the drainage out because it's totally inadequate. Well, that now, you got to go from probably I don't know what's in there now, probably a 12 or 18-inch pipe to a 24-inch drain pipe or whatever to carry that away. Well, look at all the digging, excavating you got to do to rip that out and then put in the new drainage systems and stuff, the grates and all. It's good, and you can't interfere with the buildings that are there.
Right.
So you got to be very careful about digging your trenches and stuff for your foundations for the new buildings without disrupting the foundations of the current buildings. And
we talked a lot about with that fine arts building, right? It's like, well, can we renovate that space? And the answer was continually, by the time you do what you need to do to that space, it's going to cost you more to try to fix it than to actually tear it down and build new space. And so the state has agreed. They've added that square footage into the demolition and are partnering up with it. But we went around and around. Hey, can we salvage this? Can we renovate this space? Because that water does wick up. And I think that's the building Mr. Russ is talking about. That water wicks up the walls of the Fine Arts building, and they continually have moisture issues in that building and a moldy smell.
It's probably moldy. Black mold in there right now, or mildew, or whatever.
Our current campus is this like Franken campus. It's all these little pieces that have been added on over the year, and they don't really mesh that well together, right?
And it locked y'all into trying to come up with a solution to a problem that has very, very limited solution.
And it's not the perfect solution, right? Because we're going to retain half of our current high school, right? The Acme and the HSS wings, like we're not touching those. We're not touching the FFA and the outdoor, the outdoor barn, stuff like that. That's still there, right? So we're still trying to integrate what we can with the current gym and where we're going to put the new cafeteria, right? So that's always.
Did I hear correctly that the junior high's moving over there?
No, that's not correct.
That's not correct.
There's a lot of talk about moving ninth graders over there. So if you sit there and watch the school, we're shuttling junior high students, 8th and 9th graders up to the high school, and we're shuttling high schoolers down to the junior high. And all day long, there's buses that are doing this, moving them back. Because, so for example, we have an aviation pathway, career pathway, right? So we have a lot of career pathways. One of them is aviation. We offer aviation 1, 2, and 3. Well, the only space that we had to put all of our simulators, so the Leading Edge Aviation Foundation, it's a local foundation, it's based out of the airport. They bought us a whole bunch of simulators, I think seven simulators. The only space we had available was down in the junior high. So those junior high students, those 9th grade students that are in Aviation 1, they're on campus. But then for Aviation 2 and 3, they've got to come from the high school to the junior high to have those classes. And so we've seen that enrollment drop off. Aviation 3 doesn't have a lot of students in it because those are juniors and seniors that are having to go to the junior high to get that class. The state keeps pushing.
Now the junior high is right above.
It is, but it's a pretty good walk, right? It's I don't know, maybe a quarter mile uphill into the junior high. So there are buses that run back and forth.
I'll be darned.
There's really no way around that. I mean, I've sat back like, how else can you do it, right? You need a ski gondola running, just putting people on back and forth. Obviously, I'm joking, but it's a problem. The state has continued to push some academic courses younger and younger, like algebra was traditionally, a high school, they're getting that in 8th grade now, right? So we're pushing some of these classes younger and younger. It really makes sense for that 9th grade to be concurrent with our high school, and our high school should be a true freshman through senior, 9 through 12 high school, not a 10 through 12. So the district's looking at that. With this new build, I think we're getting 4 additional classrooms, less space, but 4 more classrooms than we currently have, which will be enough to bring a lot of the 9th grade up. So we do less of this. It'll allow the district to perhaps, and this is the board's going to have to look at this, rearranging some of the grades and consolidating some grades into buildings and make things a little bit more economical. I'll say this too, and I probably should have said it at the beginning, right? These are opinions of me, one, Scott Booth only. I'm one of 7. So when I say, hey, we're going to do this or look at this, right? This is my personal take on it, and I don't. I've been outvoted many times on this board. So when I'm just saying that, hey, this is my perspective, and if you ask Mr. Butler or Mr. Smesky or any of the other board members, they may have a different perspective as well too. But
that's understood.
But they have a lot of dialogue. I will say that.
But coming up in the next year, we've got to figure out how now to fund this, right? So before we ask, right, because they ask if it goes out on the general election, right, we're not going to do a special election, right? I think this board does not want to do a special election. We want to do it on a general election when you have the massive amount of turnout, because I want to know from the most amount of people, right, is this the plan we want or not want, right? So general elections, the time to do that. But we got to figure out, what are we asking, right? What are we actually going to ask? What increase are we going to ask for? Is there going to be an increase? Are we going to ask to repackage up all the current debt into the new debt and extend that out for 30 years, maybe keeping the millage the same as it currently is? I have a lot of different thoughts on that. And this is, once again, it's my thoughts, right? The thing that really frustrates me is not spending the money on the school, right? A lot of that money stays local, right? So, without getting too far on a tangent, Mr. Gregory has talked, 3 years ago before I was on the board, but he had said publicly he wanted to use as many local contractors as he could, right? Most of that money is going to stay local, or it's gone one time and then it's gone. It's the interest that you pay over the 30-year life of that bond that leaves our community, right? So if you have a $35 million build over a 30-year bond, you're going to double that interest. You're going to pay $35 million or $40 million in interest over those years. That money leaves our community. That is taxpayer money, and it's gone. So how can we do this and pay it off as fast as we could? I would love to pay it off faster than 30 years, so we pay less interest, and then when it's time to build a new build, we don't already have a whole pile of debt sitting here, right?
Yeah.
This is my look at it. I don't know, is that something the taxpayer is going to be willing to do, or hey, let's pay a little bit more now, guarantee that it's going only to that bond principal, right? There's no excess getting used to fund any of the maintenance operations of the school, and let's pay it down as fast as we can. Let's pay it off in 12 or 13 years instead of 30 or something. So now when it's time for the next building to get renovated or need an addition onto it, we don't have a huge pile of debt already, and we're in this same situation. So there's a lot of conversations on, hey, what are we going to ask? How are we going to fund this ask? And we need feedback from the constituents, right? Call me and talk to me. Call Ms. Morgan. Tell us. Come to our meetings. Come to our open houses. We had a board open house prior to the August 7th meeting. All 7 board members were there for an hour to meet and greet the public, and we had 1, maybe 2 people show up, and it was like nobody.
Well,
it was like, come on, come talk to us.
I'm not going to excuse anybody on that matter, but is the information getting out to the public?
Gosh, we're trying. I've had some conversations with Mr. Russ about maybe we can put some stuff higher up on the district's webpage, right? The whole facility plans, the new plan for the high school, that's front and center on the school district's website.
Okay.
But can we get maybe some of this board information and upcoming issues and stuff that we're talking about up front?
Okay,
right?
School board members, you don't just represent a certain section of town.
We're the whole district.
School board's a school board member.
Right, the students, the staff, and the stakeholders in the whole district.
Okay.
They're all at large.
Gotcha.
Correct.
So, give us some ways for the general public to contact you, since you're here, or any of the others. Or
Sure. Well, on the Meet the Board page, right, the school board page, there's contacts for everybody, every board member. See a picture, have an email address,
how do they find
have phones.
that? How do they find that? Do you know that
From the webpage, if you go to mhbombers.com, you can scroll down to the bottom. mhbombers.com. You scroll down to the bottom. There's a link, a hyperlink that says state required information. That is the magic link. It doesn't look like much from the front, and that's what Mr. Russ was suggesting. We make that a little more prominent. You go there, and you're going to find everything from the district contracts, special ed plans, the district budget, school board information. I mean, there's all kind of stuff there. But there's one hyperlink that says school board information. You click on that, you'll have where you can a button where you can see where all the board members see their quick bios, how to contact them, phone numbers, emails. You'll have a link to where you can watch all our board meetings live stream on Facebook or view the recordings of it. You'll see all the minutes or the agendas of the upcoming meetings, and then you'll see the agendas, the minutes, the personnel reports from the previous meetings.
Okay,
as well
what's the link on the front page?
Yep, front page of mhbombers.com. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it says state required information.
Okay.
You click on that. That gets you to all the hyperlinks that you want to look at anything. It's there basically.
And the general public will understand what those
yes, sir.
What they're about.
I've tried to make it easier to contact me if people know about it. I have my own Facebook page for it's Scott Booth, MH, MPH, Mountain Home, MHPS, School Board, I think is what it is. So if you just search Scott Booth, you'll see my school board page come up, right? I try to push out information as best I can. Once again, I get very little feedback. I'll ask a question, and I may have 1 or 2 likes clicked on it. I'm like, come on, give me something, folks. This is what I want, right? So we're begging for involvement, right, just from the board, but, I've heard from other organizations. I know, like, PTO is hurting for folks this year. So don't be scared to get involved. Come out. And it doesn't have to be parents only, right? I've looked at, say, our hospital, right? They have their yellow shirt army, right, that all those volunteers, and they do, thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of volunteers. Like, come volunteer at our schools, right? Come sit in the library and read to our students, right? These grandparents that love children, like, guess what? We want you to come to our library and read to students, or help, sit in the cafeteria and help them out with their lunches and opening up, the kindergartners opening up their little yogurt packets or their string cheese or whatever it is. Like
yogurt? you guys got yogurt? Oh,
well,
man.
no, the parents will send
I might come and help.
I send yogurt with my kids' lunches, right? but we need volunteers for that, right? It's the teachers that are doing that stuff. So please get involved, right? Take ownership of this is our school district and this is what we make of it, right? So.
And I'll tell you, Scott, it's not just a school board. I'm a member of the Hanco Volunteer Fire Department out there. Actually, I think I'm getting ready to become the vice chairman of the commission board out there. But You know, we've got 20-something members, and that's a retirement community for the most part out there. Most everybody out there is about like Joe and I, you know, all gray hair and everything.
What?
But, you know, the thing, well, what hair you got.
That's right.
But the thing about it is not long ago I noticed that Northeast Lakeside had a sign out there asking for more volunteers for their fire department.
Sure.
We need more volunteers for our fire department. We're there to serve the community. You know, I was out, we had a call last Thursday night. We were out there till 9 o'clock fighting the fire. Get involved, people. You know, you might not think you could do much. It doesn't take a whole lot if we got a lot of people volunteering. It only takes a little bit from each person. But when you only got one or two or just a few people, it takes a tremendous effort from those few to make a difference. So, you know, I was looking, I did a little bit of research today. Didn't have much luck, but more than 1 billion people volunteer worldwide, okay? 63 million Americans volunteer, representing about 25% of the U.S. adult population. I don't think we have quite that number here locally. 83% of volunteers are motivated by supporting causes they care about. And I would just say this, if you're a parent, and the cause that you care about should be your children's education, so get involved.
Yeah, that's a
Sure.
big deal.
25% or 62% of nonprofits say recruiting volunteers is a big problem. So, you know, it's not just us, but I think, you know, that comes along with, you know, our younger generations are sitting there all day doing this when they're not in school. I was glad to see the schools require community involvement now with volunteering.
Yes, sir.
You know, because that at least kind of sets the stage.
Plants the seed.
Yep. For them to be involved as they go forward. You know, we see it in the political environment. You know, I mean, one side has all these paid volunteers. That, you know, they're getting paid, and you know, they truck them around, bus them around all over the country, showing up as volunteers. Well, we know that they're not being volunteered; they're getting paid. But you know, we just don't see the community involvement like we used to.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's a problem.
Okay. I think we're going to have to wrap this up here shortly. The last thing I've got on the school board issue is these school board meetings can be watched live. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We stream them live on our YouTube channel, district
On
YouTube channel.
And is that the same website?
It's from
on
that
the link.
MH
Find the
bomb, or
link.
you can find the link right there. Here's the link to the live stream. Come watch
Okay.
it, and then it's recorded too, so you can see the recording
Yeah,
of it
so
if you're.
so watch it and get a feel for what's going on if
Sure.
you're a little timid about going in
And then
to
you
the actual meeting, and then
Right, we see a lot of comments, right, or people who haven't been involved, don't understand the decisions and why we make the decisions, and like they'll say, why are they doing this? Well, please get involved. Come watch our meetings. Come talk to us. Please be involved, right? This is our community, and it is what we make of it, right? I get that the parents they're working. A lot of them are living paycheck to paycheck, and both parents are working, and it's hard to get involved. If you've got some time in your hands, and I'm not pointing my finger just at the retirees community here or whatever, but let's get involved, right? A lot of folks move here. A lot of folks retire here because of, say, our healthcare industry, right? But these students become our nurses and our CNAs, and they go off to med school after going to college, and then they come back to be our doctors here, right? So we have to, it all feeds in. I know recruiting doctors to this area is very, very difficult. Recruiting CRNAs to give anesthesia at the surgery center is very, very difficult.
Well, and
so if we can build all of that up, it snowballs in the right direction where maybe some of these retirees say, hey, I don't want to pay for this, or I don't want to volunteer for this, but if you do, it's going to help you for the reasons that you retired to here, which is, hey, the healthcare industry that we have here, and our beautiful facilities, and our the nature that surrounds us, right? So please get involved, right? Come talk to us, even if you don't want to get involved. Just give us your feedbacks.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, getting these kids proper education, I mean, it cuts down crime. We all benefit from that.
We all benefit from it.
And
yes,
plus,
sir.
we just something you should be doing.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
So, all right, I'm gonna say thank you, Scott. It was
Yes,
a
sir.
great interview. I think we got to wrap this up here. We're gonna go over our sponsors here first. And again, it's the Mountain Home Heat and Air, voted best in the Twin Lakes 2 years in a row, 2024 and 2025. They are the largest Goodman dealer in the Twin Lakes area. Mountain Home Heat and Air, together with Goodman, are two names you can trust. Goodman systems are made in America by Americans. They also specialize in Dakin mini split systems. From new installations to duct cleaning and everything in between, Mountain Home Heat and Air are the people to call for all your HVAC needs. And they offer high-quality systems and workmanship, affordable prices. They also offer financing. And so if you have any needs for HVAC, give Kirk Lawrence and the folks at Mountain Home Heat and Air a call at 870-425-HVAC. That's 870-425-4822. Russ.
And here the last couple of weeks or so, I know some of these people were probably calling 911 when their AC went out,
Oh, man.
Okay. And we're sponsored by James Boyette State Farm Insurance. Auto, homeowners, condo, renters, personal articles, business, life, health, pets, and he also offers banking and annuity services. He's a great agent. I know that personally because he has taken care of my insurance needs ever since I've been up here for the last 7 years. And automobile insurance is very competitive with all the others around. Sometimes you get what you pay for. Located at 1330 Highway 62 East. Phone number is 870-425-4540. And we're also sponsored by the Baxter County Republican Committee. And we will be meeting tomorrow night. So, in going along with our discussion tonight, volunteer, get involved, come out and attend. We meet tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at the VFW downtown. That's the Baxter County Republican Committee. We'd look forward to seeing you there.
And a couple other quick announcements. Quorum Court, first Tuesday each month, 5:30 p.m. That's at the Baxter County Courthouse. City Council meets first and third Thursday, 5 p.m. at City Hall. Republican Men's Club, first Thursday, 11:30 a.m. at the Elks. City Planning Committee, second Monday, 1 p.m. at City Hall. County Planning Committee, second Tuesday, 11 a.m. Baxter County Courthouse. A&P, Advertising and Promotion, that's third Thursday, 3 p.m. at City Hall. School Board, third Thursday, 6 p.m. each month at the Edmond Building on Rodeo Drive. And then there's an Airport Advisory Committee that's important to some people, and they don't have a specific schedule, I don't think. But you can find their information in the bulletin, if I'm not mistaken. Probably KTLO, too.
Yeah.
And then again, Baxter County Republican Committee, last Tuesday each month, tomorrow, 6 p.m. VFW. Come on out, and if you have any other announcements you'd like us to make every week, let us know. That being said, I just want to again say thank you, Scott.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you,